Hi and welcome back. We are live at AWS reInvent in Las Vegas. So if you're just tuning in now or you've been watching us all morning, thanks for being here. I'm Sydney Studi. I'm live with my other host here, AM,
Hey, I'm AM, Dev Advocate here at AWS.
and joined by Matt and Scott. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, folks. Matt Sidley. I'm a Senior Manager of Product Management on Amazon S3.
And I'm Scott Franks. I'm a storage solutions architect.
Awesome. So glad you're here. So you guys have something really exciting to talk about. AM and I have been raving about this.
Yep.
Looking forward to this session. So let's jump in. I won't spoil the surprise. Go for it.
Sure. So just yesterday, we announced a new storage class for S3, S3 Express One Zone, which is a new high-performance storage class and provides it's purpose-built to provide single-digit millisecond latency for customers' most latency-sensitive applications. We're really excited about it. We've heard a lot of positive feedback from customers, and it was just launched yesterday.
Awesome. And so for context for viewers maybe just joining, what was the problem before and how does this launch solve it?
Yeah, so what we were hearing from a lot of customers that they love S3 for its elasticity, its scalability, durability, high throughput performance. But there's certain applications such as interactive analytics or machine learning training where the request latency can impact the total job time or query time of a complex query. And so we built this new storage class that's really purpose-built for these sorts of applications that the speed of access, and it's 10 times faster than S3 standard, that speed of access, can really speed up those query times and job times and applies to many industries, many different types of workloads.
I mean, Matt, don't let this go to your head, but S3 has been one of my favorite services for a long, long time, a very long time. I mean, so I've been in storage before. I worked at a company called Box prior to AWS.
Yep.
I get storage, and S3 is, it's in a class of its own. It's amazing, and to come in and make S3 this much better, because if you think about the workloads when S3 was coming around initially, we weren't doing stuff like this, right? We didn't have to worry about data sets that were huge, that needed to be, like this incredible amount of closeness to where it was being computed. So you could come in and you could use S3, and having to move over to like block storage to be able to work with these data sets was kind of a hassle, So the fact that you all heard that and addressed it, I mean, I'm blown away. I'm serious. I really am excited about this. So tell us about like some of those increases to speed. Tell us about some of the changes that have happened with this new storage class.
Yeah, no, happy to. So there's kind of three components to the secret sauce of this new storage class. First, it's a single zone storage class, which is the first time you have that option to co-locate object storage and compute within that same availability zone, which really helps improve performance because there's less latency between your compute and storage. The second is it's built on purpose-built software and high-performance storage media, which just allows things to go faster and have faster access speeds. The third is we're introducing a new bucket type called S3 directory buckets. And these new types of directory buckets can instantaneously scale to hundreds of thousands of TPS. And they're also, when you get started, you set it up in that availability zone of where you want your storage and where your compute is. And then the third thing is we're introducing a new session-based authentication model called S3 Create Session. And it really is just optimized to provide the lowest latency when you authorize and authenticate requests.
Very interesting. So we obviously, I mentioned briefly like ML workloads. I know we're going to see some of that with Scott's demo. What are some of the other use cases here too? When would I pick this new storage class?
Yeah, and we actually have quite a few different integrations with different AWS services. So, for example, if you're using Athena and you're running a complex query, we're seeing query times up to 2.1 times faster than with S3 standard, or EMR is up to 4 times faster. And really, those speedups are those long-running, like very storage I/O heavy queries. Lots of diffs, merges, things like that, which really send a lot of I/O to the storage system. So those types of things. SageMaker, we're integration with SageMaker, and we're seeing really good speeds there. Pinterest is using it to accelerate their machine learning data pipelines. They're seeing up to 10 times faster, which helps them lower their infrastructure costs because jobs complete faster. So there's a lot of benefits. You know, media and entertainment. You know, editing files where you're working with someone else and you want that seamless experience. So there's a lot of different use cases for this new storage class.
That's amazing. And in addition to the improved speed, there's also a reduced request cost too.
That's right.
Right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So with this new storage class, you know, it's really optimized for high transactions or request-intensive workloads, and so the storage class has 50% lower request costs than S3 standard.
Oh, very nice.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we've talked about it quite a bit, but I'd love to see it. We want to bring up a demo?
Absolutely. So the first thing we want to do is kind of explore what Matt was just talking about. So if you've used S3 before, you can see that the console is changed because we have a new bucket type. And it's right here in this tab, right here where we have the directory bucket. So this is kind of where that magic happens, right? So you still have all the goodness that's over there on the left in your general purpose S3 buckets that we've all come to know and love over the last 18 years. But now we've got this new bucket type. And so we're going to go ahead and create a bucket because there are some unique features here. Yes, sure.
Let me ask you too, while we're creating that bucket, the new directory, but how do I import data?
So we're going to get to that. I'm so glad you asked that question.
I'm teeing you up. It's almost
awesome.
like we prepared this or something, Scott.
So here's US East AZ4. Now here's a new concept. You're going to be using AZ IDs, not the available agents that you're familiar with today. So but the nice thing is, right here in the console, it's going to map that for you. So if you're used to using US East 1A, that's in your account. We're going to use that's actually US East AZ4. That's the AZ ID. We're going to be mindful of that. So let's keep going. We're going to acknowledge this data only lives in one availability zone. And now we're going to create an AWS name. Now this is one of my favorite things, right? So remember up here in our tab, I think I can get back to it. We have the name of our S3 bucket. We can use the same name, and it's going to append the pieces that we need for the availability zone suffix. So I think it was, I'm just going to make, it's probably not going to be exactly the same, but S3 standard data. So it doesn't really matter because, once again, the partition is smaller, and most of our customers don't know what that means, and that's okay because we hide that from you, but this is going to make it a lot easier to use to create names that are effective for your application. So let's go ahead and create that bucket. Now, right here, so you ask about importing data. You'll notice that as soon as the bucket's there, I've got this ability to import data. So I can come over here and I'm going to browse my S3. See, it's S3 standard bucket, so I typed the name wrong. But anyway, so we're going to keep I'm going to migrate the entire S3 bucket over. This is a small bucket for this demo. It's only 221 objects. They're relatively small. And so we're going to just fire this up, and we're going to keep copy this data and it's going to go. Now this is all built on the magic of batch operations, the tools in S3. So this is all native S3 resources. You don't have to spin anything up, and it's just going to go. So you'll see that my job is going. So while that job is running, it's not going to run for very long, but there's a little bit of a spin up and spin down. So what I'd like to do is talk to you about a workload. So my day job is as a workload validation engineer. And so we build workloads for customers, and what we did is we built a machine learning workload.
Right before we get to that, Scott, sorry, we had a question from chat that I was curious if we could get answered. That S3 create session API, is that a requirement to use the new storage class?
It is.
Okay.
It is a new requirement, and really that's how you're going to get the very lowest latency.
Okay.
Is using it, and it's actually. It's very simple. You add it in as an action in your bucket policy. You said there's two types of modes. There's a read-only and read-write mode with this new session. And then the SDK actually handles all the session and tokens for you. So if you're using our best practice is use the latest SDKs, create session. Once you've put it on your bucket policy, that session management is all handled for you.
Okay, great. And now Scott, chat actually wanted to see a workload with this. So there we go.
All right. So let me jump out of there, and we'll come over to a different browser here, make that one full screen. There we go. Okay, so what we've done is there's 20,000 images, 20,000 on S3 and 20,000 on S3 Express. And you've got it's kind of a little bit of a race. And we're going to scan those 20,000 images, and we're going to find the images that are the images of pizza. This is not, this is kind of a common machine learning computer vision algorithm, pretty familiar. Lots of people, built it, graduate school or whatever. But I like it because it's going to show how the power of storage impacts the overall workload.
Right.
Okay, so up here on the top right, you're going to notice I've got total request latency. That's how long it took me to read each individual object from each storage class. Okay, so keep your eye on there, and here we go. Oh. Okay. So S3 Express is on the bottom, and you can see,
wow.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's a little faster.
A little bit, just
Yes.
yeah. Wow.
It's passing pretty quick.
Oh shoot. And those are
Wow.
not. Sorry, this is not. This is the Chihuahua demo.
That's okay.
We're
We
gonna-
we
we're
were
gonna-
talking dogs earlier.
Yeah.
I like
Yes,
this more.
Yeah, that's all. We gave one of our leaders delivered this one. Let me go ahead and show you the pizza demo.
Okay.
All right, so we get to see it twice. It's just very similar. So, so once again, you see these load times, and these load times are, if you look at the total request latency, it's hovering somewhere between 9 and 10 times faster, and that's that's pretty substantial. And
Wow.
this is we did this with CPUs, not even using GPUs. So this is actually
Really?
yes. So we are actually optimize this infrastructure for cost as well. And this is the power of S3 Express is it lets me build more flexible workloads. So I can not only in ML but also in many other spaces. And so this is exactly the key here.
That's awesome. I think both of those demos, I saw the second one finished like before the first one was even at 50%.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So let's jump out of this and we'll go
See if
back.
that import job finished.
Oh yeah, the import job's long done by now because we
Wonderful.
ran that twice. So it's actually in Chrome. There we go. All right. So let's close that and jump back to our buckets.
And one of the really cool things about the import job is just the scale which you can move data from
Yeah.
your existing general purpose bucket where your data lake is. You can now move large amounts of data into your Express bucket if you have certain data sets that are just really active and really hot. And you can move millions of objects in just a few minutes between the two buckets.
Yeah, it was super simple to import
Awesome.
data. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Yeah. And it's a managed service. I mean, we didn't
Yeah.
do, so previously with a lot of these tools, you had to create the list or use an inventory report. This was managed for you. Now, some of this capability also works both ways. So you can take some of that automation and use it to move data. Perhaps you've
back.
Yeah, exactly. You've used it to move data into S3 Express, and now we've processed it. Maybe it's changed a little bit. We can use a variation on that project to move it right back and put it
nice.
somewhere else. Maybe a different storage class. Maybe we can do
Yeah.
a lot of things with that. And that's
I mean, that's a common workflow, right? Is you move the data over, enrich it, and then move it back somewhere after it's been enriched, right?
Yep.
It's awesome.
so here's our S3 standard bucket. I just want to show you, point out there's 202 objects there. You can kind of scroll through them a little bit and see.
You made chat hungry for pizza, by the way.
All right. Well, it's almost lunchtime, so that's a good thing. And then if we come back over here and take a look at I think this is the. No. So there's our directory bucket, and you'll see you've still got 202 objects, pretty much the same stuff. And so, but just as easy as doing 200, quite honestly, we probably could have done 20,000 in about the same period of time.
Wow.
And it scales well beyond that.
Wow.
So this is really a tool that's built for bulk workloads. So and there's a lot of other tools that are out there, like Matt mentioned, our partners. They can add that value as well. But this is really the easiest way to start to manage your data lifecycle.
That's amazing. Unfortunately, Scott, you have conjured one of the most divisive arguments you can on the internet. Someone in chat has dropped pineapple on pizza now, so I'm not gonna bite. I'm gonna acknowledge it. I'm not gonna bite. I'm not gonna tell you my thoughts on pineapple on pizza.
The thing about pizza is there's always an opinion.
There always is. There always
There
is.
sure is.
And every opinion's valuable. They're all valuable.
So, okay, so awesome demo. How do I get started with this?
Well, like I said, today the directory buckets are in your console. So if you're using S3 and you're already using the console, it's just there. It's basically doing. There's also a getting started guide now in the console.
Yeah.
That can will walk you through basically everything I did and probably a little bit more. There's a little more magic, and didn't mean to leave it out, but there's you are going to have to create some IAM roles the first time because I tested the demo before we came up here. We didn't have to do that, but that's okay. It's about 2 more steps, but there's 2 more clicks, and it's just that simple.
We had another question from chat, and I was interested in this too. I know we already mentioned like video and media kind of workloads, but what about web hosting? What about for, because that's a classic S3 use case. Does web hosting and directory buckets fit in together? Having CloudFront in front of it. Are these the intention of the new storage class, or is that still in standard access?
Typically, you would use the existing general purpose buckets. CloudFront works really well in those scenarios.
Right.
A lot of our website hosting and the features are in the general purpose buckets.
Yeah.
They are not in the directory buckets right now.
Yes.
But certainly, as if that's interest, we'd love to kind of hear that feedback too.
Yeah, it's not really actually the same type of data movement, right? Like that we're talking about here. Data movement from me to render an HTML page in a web browser is probably better suited with a CDN, I would imagine, like CloudFront, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And if you're working with data sets, right, like that's when it really starts pulling in.
In S3 Express Zone, really the value comes when you're within that region, within that AZ, and you really co-locate where those clients are, where your storage is, and minimizing that latency.
Right, that makes sense.
That's a great segue into what I wanted to ask, which is what are some key use cases that you see this being used for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the use cases that we're hearing from our customers are a lot around machine learning training and inference. You just saw an inference demo that Scott did. Video editing workflows or transcoding workflows in the media and entertainment industry. And then also analytics, whether that's interactive analytics through, some of our partners that also support it, like ClickHouse or, Cloudera. That's, they're seeing 40%, speed up times on like standard industry benchmarks using this new storage class. So a lot of analytics, a lot of machine learning workloads.
Awesome.
I'm incredibly interested. I don't know how much you can talk about this, Matt, but how did y'all achieve this? How did you achieve this performance?
Yeah, it really kind of comes down to optimizations on the request path. The create session, providing that lowest latency for authorization, authentication. Storing data in a single zone so that the distance between nodes and the storage system is minimized. You can co-locate storage and compute together. So kind of all these things in combination is really what makes it work and achieves that 10x performance increase over S3 standard.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That's awesome. So I know we have about 3 minutes left. Is there any key takeaways you'd like to share with the audience? And we could start there, but I also want to hear about where they could find you at reInvent if they're here.
Cool. Yes. We have a session later today, STG 2:30 at 5:30 today, that we'll be talking more about S3 Express One Zone. There's also workshops tonight at 7:30 if you want to, dive into it a little bit further. So, we have a lot going on here. We're excited about it. And, if you can always find us at the storage booth here as well, too.
Yeah, awesome. So, before we close out, anything come to mind of like, if you take one thing from this session and this launch, what would you want that to be?
Yeah, I think the team worked really hard on this to provide, all the things that customers love about S3, that scalability, that durability, the elasticity, the simplicity of using the S3 API and experience. And we really, tuned that, supercharged that to provide that very high data access speeds for a wide variety of workloads. And we have, additionally, in terms of AWS service support, we also have a large number of partners from everything in the analytics space, the machine learning space, that are all helping us and helping customers to really achieve and supercharge their applications with this new storage class.
I have an incredibly important question, maybe the most important question to ask here. Scott, what's the next demo that you're going to be working on?
So we're going to take that one and continue to build on it. We built that for the launch, so we kind of built it in a kind of compressed manner. We're going to rework that, and there's going to be just like everybody else, more AI and ML.
Well, we saw pizza, we saw dogs.
Yes.
What's next?
Well, it may not be computer vision next time. We're probably going to go to a different workload.
Dogs eating pizza.
It's not good for the dogs. I won't do that.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. That's fair.
I'm a dog lover, so it's a thing.
Yeah, me too.
So can I? One
Can
of
I
the
say
things.
Cats. Maybe.
Maybe I'll feed cats pizza.
No, don't feed the cat pizza. I mean, can you do one on cats?
So one of my favorite takeaways from this is that the fact that this really shows the continued innovation of S3.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's my favorite takeaway is, 18 years in, And you talked about how great it is, global standard. It's amazing. We're still innovating, and still so much to grow to meet our customers' needs. And
I said when y'all walked up, just when you think S3 can't get better, it does.
Yes.
That's a true reaction I had when I heard this release. So, yeah, I mean, y'all have to go out and just get hands-on with this because it is incredible. Yep. So, all right.
Yeah.
Try it.
I'm looking forward to trying it out. Try it out this evening.
Please do. Okay, everybody, we will be back with more coverage, so please stay tuned.